Good evening and welcome to the Monday, April 5th, 2021 regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council. First item on our agenda is Pledge of Allegiance, and I'd like to ask Councilmember Spiegel to lead us in the pledge tonight.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Next item on our agenda is reflection, and I'd like to call for a moment of silence, please. Thank you all very much. Next, we have approval of minutes, and tonight we have two sets of minutes to approve. The first being from the work session on Monday, March 8th. What is the pleasure of the council? Neil.
Move approval of the minutes of the joint work session held March 8th, 2021.
Rob.
Second.
Okay, I will call the roll. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
And Councilmember Sales. It looked like an aye. Okay, there we go. Thank you. That carries 5-0. Next, we have the minutes from the work session on Monday, March 22nd. What is the pleasure of the council? Rob.
Move approval.
Okay. Mike.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I will call the roll. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
And Councilmember Sales.
Aye.
All right, carries 5-0. Thank you all very much. Next, we have presentations, and tonight we actually have 3 proclamations. We're getting back into doing proclamations. Tech team, if you could bring up the Days of Remembrance proclamation to the screen, and I'll read the background material. This is a proclamation of the Mayor and City Council designating the week of Sunday, April 4th through Sunday, April 11th, 2021 as Days of Remembrance in the city of Gaithersburg. The Days of Remembrance is an annual 8-day period designated by the United States Congress to help citizens remember and draw lessons from the Holocaust. The period normally begins on the Sunday before the Jewish observance of Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, and continues through the following Sunday. A national civic commemoration is held in Washington, D.C. with state, city, and local ceremonies and programs held in most of the 50 states. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum was created as a permanent living memorial to the victims and provides materials to help support remembrance efforts. Accepting the proclamation this year is Dr. France J. Pruitt, Asbury resident, and Holocaust survivor. She and her family survived the Holocaust by becoming farmers and living on an isolated farm in the Cevennes, I hope I'm pronouncing that, Cevennes mountains in the south of France. For the last year and a half of the Holocaust, they were hidden in the homes of Huguenots, which is probably pronounced differently in French, but you'll just have to excuse me for that. I am familiar with the word Huguenots. I just only know the English pronunciation of it. Her close family survived, but 65 members of her extended family did not. After the war, the family moved to the U.S., where France completed her BA at Swarthmore College, MA at SUNY at Buffalo, and doctorate at l'École pratique des hautes études. All right, there's a lot of French tonight. I hope I said it right. Ryan, you could correct me if I'm wrong. Part of the Sorbonne in Paris. Using her experiences and education, she opened international education offices in 4 universities. For more information on Dr. France J. Pruitt, her family, and their story, please read her book, Resilience and Compassion, Surviving the Holocaust. And I'll just note, we are delighted to have her in our community. It's an honor to present her with this proclamation. So thank you all very much for that one. And we'll move on to the next proclamation, which is Green Month. Tech team, we can get our Green Month proclamation. I'm assuming there is a slide for Green Month, right, Doris? Yeah, okay, here we go. Okay, so this is a proclamation of the Mayor and City Council designating April 2021 as Green Month and April 29th as Arbor Day in the city of Gaithersburg. To celebrate Green Month 2021, the city has planned more than 20 events, some virtual and some safely socially distanced, that focus on celebrating and improving our natural environment. The celebration kicked off on Saturday, April 3rd, with another successful community shredding and electronics recycling event. The city has expanded the service provided to include light bulb recycling. The next shredding event will take place in November. During Green Month, we are looking forward to honoring 16 environmental award winners on our social media platforms, encouraging you to stop sucking by signing on to our month-long Skip the Straw pledge, screening the film Wasted, the story of food waste, and encouraging you to find ways to reduce the amount of waste you generate by joining the city of Gaithersburg's team in the Making the Most of Food challenge, providing green learning opportunities via webinars about recycling and pesticide-free lawn care, celebrating Green Up Day all month long by providing tools our residents can use for small-scale cleanup events, partnering with our friends in Parks, Recreation, and Culture for Walking with Shakespeare, a story time that features a book about frogs, and enjoying the Birds of a Feather art exhibit, and celebrating Arbor Day with self-guided Morris Park tree tour. Find different trees with QR codes to learn about what makes each tree type vital to our environment. For a full list of our events and to find a list of activities you can do on your own, please visit the city's website and search Green Month. Please direct questions to environment@gaithersburgmd.gov. And lastly, we have Arab American Heritage Month. And so this is a proclamation designating April 2021 as Arab American Heritage Month in the city of Gaithersburg. The city of Gaithersburg recognizes Arab Americans throughout the month of April, providing an opportunity to reflect on and learn about the many achievements in science, education, engineering, politics, and the arts of our Arab American neighbors. The Arab world is culturally rich and diverse, encompassing 22 countries, 3 monotheistic world religions, divergent political loyalties, as well as differences of locality, region, and kinship. Arab Americans have been part of the American society since the American Revolution and have played prominent roles in education, government, business, industry, culture, the arts, and public affairs. In the month of April, the City of Gaithersburg's Multicultural Affairs Committee will celebrate Arab American Month by providing virtual programming that allows people to reflect on and learn about the heritage, culture, and achievements of influential Arab Americans. This year's proclamation is being accepted by Dr. Deborah L. Trent. Her maternal grandparents immigrated from Ain Arab, Lebanon, and she has lived and worked in Montgomery County since 1988. Debbie chairs the Montgomery County Office of Community Partnerships Middle Eastern American Advisory Group and is a member of the Arab American Institute's National Policy Council. Her career in public diplomacy and development focuses on educational and cultural program design, monitoring, and evaluation. She is currently an independent consultant. Earlier, Debbie managed Fulbright Fellowship and post-secondary partnership programs, principally among Arab and U.S. scholars and students at the United States Information Agency. She holds a doctorate in public policy and public administration, and she is immediate past chair of the American Society of Public Administration's section on effective and sound administration in the Middle East, and the vice chair of the Public Diplomacy Council's Citizen Diplomacy Group. It's a mouthful, but it sounds really important, and we're very lucky and grateful to Dr. Debbie Trent for accepting this and for being such an important part of our community and connecting communities. So thank you all very much. And that concludes our proclamations for the evening. We are going to move on. If I can have the tech team bring up Sean Sarandis, our supervisor, and Mark Scafidi, Operations Division's Chief from Public Works, to talk about our on-demand bulk pickup update. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Sean Sarandes. I'm the mowing and bulk pickup supervisor for the City of Gaithersburg Public Works. I'm here tonight with Mark Scafidi, the Operations Division Chief for Public Works. And tonight I'm going to give you a presentation on an update of the new on-demand bulk program. Tech team, can you pull up the PowerPoint, please? And next slide. So on July 13th, 2020, the Mayor and City Council approved the new bulk pickup on-demand program to be effective in November of 2020. For those not familiar with the old program, the service was only offered on the first recycling day of each month. The new program now, residents still receive one bulk pickup per month. They can just now select which recycling day out of the month that they would like now. The program was designed to be more efficient and flexible to the residents. They now didn't have to hold on to items for weeks at a time and could schedule items to be collected around appointments for deliveries of furniture and appliances and things like that. The new program was hopes to reduce the amount of illegal dumping that was happening in our communities.
Sean, could I stop you for a sec?
Sure.
Your voice is sort of coming in and out, at least for me.
Okay.
Are others experiencing that too?
Yes.
I don't know where the mic is, but try to stay close to it.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Apologize for that. Is that any better?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. So let me see, where was I at? So with the new program was also to try and enhance reducing illegal dumping and enhance the aesthetics of the city. With the old program, residents could place items out throughout the community, and sometimes they would do that up to a week or even 2 weeks in advance. And it was not very pleasing to see, big piles of bulk throughout the city. It has also caused a safety hazard to either children playing outside or if any hazardous chemicals or anything like that being left in these piles. The new program was also created to provide a reduction in the amount of staff hours that were required and the costs associated with that. The old program, we had to take either somewhere between 8 and 10 staff members for the first week of each month and canvass the entire city, which consists about nearly 13,000 households. And through the data that we were collecting, we were only servicing somewhere about 1,000 households. So the old program was very inefficient with that. And the new program, we hope to be getting better results. Next slide, please. So upon approval, Public Works immediately began implementing the communications plan to reach out to the communities and let them know about this new program so that residents could take full advantage of it in August of 2020. This communication plan included a brand new web page. We completely redesigned it. It was new from top to bottom. We also sent out a letter explaining the new bulk program that was sent to all HOAs and property management companies. We mailed a postcard that was sent out to all eligible residents. We posted community signs throughout the city, and we created an informational video on the Gaithersburg YouTube page. We also published an article in the in Gaithersburg magazine fall winter edition. Next slide, please. So for the bulk pickup web page, it went live on August 17th. It included a whole new information system for it, including all the new stuff about the program. It also included the form for scheduling a bulk pickup through email, which is what currently about 95% of all of our requests come from that form. It included all the helpful information about telling people about how the new program works, where to place your items, what's accepted and not. It also included a link to the Gaithersburg TV YouTube video, which was a new video that we created about the new program. It has about 350 views currently. We also included a Recycle Coach link. For those that don't know, Recycle Coach is a system that allows residents to research how to properly dispose of items. Bulk pickup is not the end-all result for getting rid of things. We want residents to be educated on how to properly dispose of items, whether it's to renew, reuse, recycle, or at the end, dispose of them properly, whether it's a hazardous chemical, an item for bulk pickup, or even an item for the regular bulk trash. Next slide, please. Part of the other community outreach, this is the postcard that we mailed out to all the residents. It was about 13,500 addresses that were on the list. The postcard was mailed or is in both English and Spanish. We also use these postcards whenever we go to community meetings and pass them out for anybody that maybe has troublesome areas that want to get more information to their residents and homeowners, and trying to use these as like almost flyers for as we go forward with people that are not up to compliance with the new program. Next slide, please.
Sean,
Yes.
we're still having
Is it breaking in and
difficulties
out?
with your microphone. Maybe we can have Mark just pick up right there.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
So community outreach, so 85 signs were posted throughout the city and placed at the entrances of the communities and high traffic areas. So that way residents could see them, coming and going when they're going out in and out of the neighborhood. Next slide, please. So this is a letter that went out to the HOAs. So we tried to collaborate with the neighborhoods and neighborhood services and created and distributed a letter. So everybody knew what was going on and we could work together and try and get all the residents informed on how to use the new bulk program. Next slide, please. So in Gaithersburg magazine article, the fall edition. So as you can see from the pictures, it's just talking about the new program, things that we take, things that have changed, and how to get your items picked up. Next slide, please. So efficiency and savings. So this change has saved on costs to the transfer station. So our actual tipping fees down at the Montgomery County Transfer Station has been going down. The number of stops has also gone down. So Sean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes it's around 30, 35 a day, something like that, for the number of stops a day that the one truck goes out and does instead of 4 trucks going out to do when they were policing the whole areas. And the reduction in staff time, it's only 2 employees a day that go out now versus 8 to 10 that we were sending out before. Next slide, please. So transfer station costs. So you can see FY20 and FY21. So we're obviously been going down or staying fairly steady. So, but over FY20, we have a reduction. So what we take from this is before we had the call-in program, people were just putting stuff out everywhere. So we didn't know if they were residents of Gaithersburg or if it was, somebody else just dumping stuff on the city streets, because we were just picking up anything and everything that was in the right of ways. But we obviously can tell from this chart that we were having some or quite a bit of illegal dumping issues. Next slide, please. Number of stops. So we stay relatively consistent, on the months now. We expect it to pick up a little bit here in the springtime. So April, May, the weather's going to get nice. Everybody is going to do their spring cleanup. So February was cold, so it was down a little bit. But again, the number of stops have gone down, and we don't think that's because the residents aren't requesting it. It was more to the fact of illegal dumping spots that we were picking up before. Next slide, please. Staff hours. So this chart is really what helps me out as a Public Works Operations Division Chief, and Sean Sorendis as the mowing and bulk pickup hours. The man hours we spend out there doing it is greatly reduced. We're driving less miles, and we're using less diesel fuel to go out and do bulk pickup. Next slide, please. So community feedback. Some residents did not have a full understanding of scavengers. So some people were upset with the program because they actually like to go out and pick through the people's stuff on bulk days. So now, there's not much of that, going on. We used to have people that would go around and collect all the, that would collect a lot of the metal and the copper. So we're collecting that now, and we're actually getting recycling fees for it. And then positive, it's more convenient and more informative. So we're really getting a lot of positive feedbacks from the residents. They put it out, we pick it up the next day or the same day. So we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the residents. Next slide, please. Impacts of illegal dumping. So November 20th, November through February, 64 total complaints. 8 of them were HOA responsibility. So it was dumped on private property, HOA property, and then 1 at Public Works. FY 21, 164 total complaints. 32 on HOA responsibility. And yeah, Sean, you'll have to help me on the Public Works one. 8 on Public Works.
That's what Public Works collected.
Okay.
Everything else that wasn't either HOA or Public Works, Neighborhood Services was able to find the culprit and have them be responsible for disposal.
Right. And then contributing factors, non-compliance, and the pandemic. Obviously, there's a lot of people at home, and there was a lot of cleaning going on and stuff like that. So, so again, from 20 to 21, we feel like, previous, before we did the call-in program, there was a lot of illegal dumping on HOA property and city property. With the call-in program. We feel like those numbers have gone down, and we really can see that by our tipping fees and how much or the weight of the items we are taking to the Montgomery County transfer station. Next slide, please. So moving forward, reducing illegal dumping. So continue to educate residents and HOAs about the new bulk pickup program through multiple venues, installing permanent metal signs. So the old signs where it said bulk pickup is the first Wednesday of every month, it's going to have, bulk pickup now on demand, and it's going to have the Public Works number to call and set up a time to get your bulk pickup done. That sign's going to be made in English and in Spanish. We're going to have reminders in the Gaithersburg e-newsletter and sending out spring mailer postcards again. So to try and get ahead of this late spring, early summer, spring cleanup time. Next slide, please. So this is, so from a resident, it says, thank you for collecting my bulk pickup items. The new program is convenient because I don't have to wait for the first Wednesday of the month to place out my bulk. I also think it saves the city resources, since most of the time I have seen nothing left out for bulk pickup on the first Wednesday of the month. Thank you for the new adjustment to this service. And that was from Village on the Park. So that's all we have for the presentation. Obviously, Sean and I are here to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you both. And Sean, sorry about the technical difficulty. I know we all know it's not your fault. These things happen with technology these days. It sounds like what we have is a program that's still sort of undergoing it's still in its transitional phase, and the public's getting used to it. And we still have a couple miles to go here before we can really sort of say that this is running smoothly. But it looks promising. It looks like staff still believes this is the way to go. So that all seems reasonable to me. Rob Wu, I saw your hand go up. Go right ahead, Rob.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation. I just had a question about the illegal dumping slides, and if you can walk me through that, because it looked like from FY20 to FY21, the incidence of illegal dumpings increased. And I thought, Mark, you had said that the new program was beneficial in that regard with respect to illegal dumping.
Right. So in FY20, we were just picking up everything, right? So somebody from Rockville could come and dump their bulk on the city of Gaithersburg Street. We really didn't know if it was from a city resident or not. Now with the call-in program, the residents puts their items in front of their house or in their parking spot. So now if it's actually illegally dumped, we know it's an illegally dumped site. So we call neighborhood services. If it has bags or any type of information, then they can contact the person who dumped it. Otherwise, if it's in the city right away, we'll eventually go by and get it. We're not obviously going to just leave it sit there. If it's on HOA property, then the HOA has been responsible for removing it.
Okay, so the increased incidence is the result of you're able to now discern those that did not call in. If the items weren't reported or called in, then those count as illegal dumping.
Correct. You got it. That's right.
Any other questions or comments? I see Mike's hand. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen, for the presentation. I think it's kind of been an adventure for some people. When it first started, what I heard from neighbors in the community where I live is the system seemed to be fine before, but now I got a call. So I'm wondering how many requests have we received overall, and how many are we getting per month now, in the city generally?
Do you want to go ahead and take that, Sean?
Yeah, it fluctuates a lot depending on the season. Wintertime, it slows down a lot. During, I would say, for December, January, and February, we can average anywhere between 300 and 400 requests a month. Obviously, coming now into the springtime with spring cleaning and people doing more projects, either in the house or outside, those numbers can increase more to 450. But that's educated here right now for what we're going into. Since we just started this program, we've only had it for 4 months right now.
And we were just finishing winter, so yeah.
Yeah, and that's our slowest time of year.
Yeah. And what's been the nature of the complaints that you've received?
The only complaints that I've had were people didn't have a full understanding of the new program. They thought that we were going to be more inefficient, thinking that we were coming around every day in their neighborhood, wasting more fuel, wasting more time, instead of it just being on the recycling day. The other complaints were some people were thinking that it was while they could just put their items out and we would pick them up anytime. Now they have to at least contact us and make an appointment. But we see that as a venue to reach out to the communities, to educate residents about how to properly dispose of items. Because lots of times we get requests and there are for things that are not accepted for bulk pickup, or they need to go to the transfer station, such as hazardous materials and tires. They just thought it was as an extra step, but we think it's something that's worthwhile to educate residents more about how to properly dispose of items.
Okay,
And
great.
just to add to that a little bit, we don't have the issue of stuff being out in the right of way for extended periods of time. So when it would lead up to, say, the first Monday of the month, over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, residents were placing their items out in front of their homes. And then we would get calls from their neighbors saying, we're having people over this weekend and my neighbors put all this stuff out on their yard. So with the call-in program, they put it out, they're not allowed to put it out 24 hours in advance or less. And so we pick it up really the very next day.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. Oh, Lorianne, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have a quick question. Just, I don't know if the presentation covered the cost. Maybe it was in the initial presentation, the cost associated with expanding the program to our private condo and HOA communities, because I know I've received a few emails about the confusion associated with the new program, and how you can get access to the services if you're in a privately held community. And so I was just wondering what the costs were associated with that. I know that there may be a fee that is assessed to our homeowners and townhouse owners, but wondering what that fee was if we were to go back to making this available for everyone.
So I'll try and tackle that a little bit. So it's always been just single family homes and townhomes, and it's never been apartments and condos in the 30 years that I've been here. But if that's something that the mayor and the council want to look at, we're willing to, work with everybody and, come up with some ideas.
Or even if there's resources, are there resources on the website for people who aren't eligible to participate, how they can dispose of their bulk trash properly?
Yeah, there's information about the Shady Grove transfer station, contacting Montgomery County at 311, or also, depending on their situation, if they're at an apartment or condo, they'll also reach out to their property management to see if they offer any bulk pickup service. It just depends on what if they're in an apartment, a condo, or what service they offer there.
Okay. And one last question. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead, Lorianne, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So the illegal dumping, do we have locations of where those calls were coming from for the complaints? What parts of our city? We didn't.
The majority, from what I've heard from neighborhood services and some of the community meetings that I've attended, that it's in townhome communities and typically from renters. Unfortunately, those that, the information gets back to the homeowner that owns that property, but not the renter that's in there about this information. And that's why we're trying to get more community outreach out there to get the word out about how this program works, because it does work if people just apply it.
Okay. All right.
And before the on-demand program, like School and Story Drive and West Side Drive were some of the worst places. And now I can't believe it, but they're really some of the best places. I drive down those roads and they're like, the cleanest I've ever seen them since I've worked here. So it's, I think it's really, really good. And I think the residents are, they'll get used to it and they'll really, really appreciate it and like it in the long run.
Okay. All right.
All right, let's go to Mike.
Yeah, so originally this was, part of the, connected to the recycling program because the bulk pickup was on recycling day. And as I recall, we don't do recycling for apartments and condos, correct?
That's correct.
So the county takes care of recycling for those places, but the county does not have a bulk pickup for those places, right? Is that's really kind of the problem for them, for those residents in those communities? Is that right? Or is that a reasonable assumption?
The county is typically, if Montgomery County collects your trash, they will also offer bulk pickup service. The city does nothing with regular household collection, and each individual, in the city of Gaithersburg, there can be multiple companies that HOAs or private homeowners select. They may offer bulk collection too. But yeah, Montgomery County only offers bulk collection, I believe, if they collect your trash.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Lorianne, please.
The communications, the outreach, is the information being shared in multiple languages?
English and Spanish.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Great job, guys.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. Sean and Mark, thank you very much for the presentation, and we'll keep an eye on this program. We look forward to seeing it in the future. And we will move on to our next agenda item, which is public comments. This is the time the mayor and council like to hear from anybody who'd like to speak on any topic that's not a public hearing topic. Tonight, we do have one public hearing topic, and that is about the sketch plan from Novavax. So if you're here to speak on that, just hold off. We're going to get to you next. But for now, if you're here to speak on anything else, tech team, please play the how-to video.
Good evening. If you've connected to the meeting tonight via Zoom and you're on a desktop or a laptop and you wish to make a public comment, we can't currently see or hear you. What you need to do, please, is wiggle your mouse around and look towards the bottom center of your screen. You should see a raise hand button. Go ahead and click on that now for us, please. Alternatively, if you've connected in via telephone, you can press *9.
Okay, so I see we have one speaker we have one person who's with a raised hand here. Tech team, if you could bring up Tarek Kalaji, please. Tarek, once you come up, just unmute yourself, state your name. Are you still with us, Tarek?
Mayor, I think that was an error. I think Tarek is with the Novavax crew.
Yeah, I have him as Novavax too, but who knows? You know, maybe he wanted to speak on some other topic. Okay, so I don't see any other hands going up, going once, going twice. Any public speakers? Okay, all right. Well then, tech team, if you could bring up, we'll go to our joint public hearing. If you could bring up the Planning Commission, please, and staff and the Novavax team. Everyone here for the joint public hearing on the Novavax campus sketch plan, that'd be great. It takes a minute to get everybody up here, but we welcome everybody. And Rob Robinson, I think this is your show. Take it away.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the council and members of the commission. May I please have packet page 72 up, please? Thank you. This is the joint public hearing on sketch plan application SK-8813-2021. Notice of this public hearing was published in the March 18th and March 25th, 2021 editions of the Washington Post. The property was posted, notifications were mailed, and further notice of the public hearing was presented on the city's website. There are currently 17 exhibits in the formal record. These exhibits are available for review at City Hall during regular business hours or anytime on the city's website. Any dispute of an exhibit must be presented prior to the closing of a record. The applicant, 14 First Field Holdings, an affiliate of Novavax, has submitted the sketch plan application to establish a new sketch plan on lots 8, 9 remainder, and the already improved lots 10, 11, and 12 in accordance with section 24-160D9A of the city code. The subject properties, as shown on the aerial on the screen, are located at 1 Bank Street, 5 Bank Street, 700 Quince Orchard Road, and 14 First Field Road. The application itself proposes approximately 1,005,000 square feet of commercial non-residential uses across 3 sketch plan blocks to facilitate in part the development of a Novavax corporate campus. I'd like to make note that this sketch plan will replace the 2016 plan that included residential. Tech team, if we could please pull up package page 52. I'd now like to introduce on behalf of the applicant, Ms. Nancy Reglin of Schulman Rogers, who will be giving the presentation.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Reglan for the record. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Schulman Rogers, and I'm counsel for the applicant 13 Firstfield Holdings LLC and Novavax Inc. Next slide, please, 53. So 14 Firstfield Holdings is, as they said, an affiliate of Novavax Inc., a late-stage biotech company headquartered right here in the city of Gaithersburg at 21 Firstfield Road. And this image is their new global headquarters building at 700 Quince Orchard, now proudly displaying their name on the building. Since we last appeared before the mayor and council in September 2020, Novavax has been before the Planning Commission, has obtained both schematic development plan approval and final site plan approval for the changes that are needed to make 700 Quince Orchard ready for the expansion of Novavax's offices, their research and development labs, and the construction of a new manufacturing facility. Permits and fit out work are moving forward for target occupancy in late summer. And a lot has happened since we last appeared last fall. First, Alexandria Real Estate Equities purchased 700 Quince Orchard, that building, from Rock Creek Properties. And at the same time, Novavax purchased the adjacent 10-acre parking lot and stormwater management pond from Rock Creek Properties, which, as Mr. Robinson said, had been approved for townhouse development under a 2016 sketch plan. We are here before you tonight with a new vision for an exciting integrated biotechnology campus on this infill property instead. So who is Novavax and why is this a request for a significant expansion opportunity on this site before you? So Novavax is a vaccine company whose unique approach combines the power of genetic engineering with its groundbreaking technology to create safe and effective vaccines for things like SARS, MERS, Ebola, seasonal flu, and now, of course, COVID-19. Its unique technology allows Novavax to tailor vaccines to better protect against infectious diseases, and as importantly, their changing variants. JP Morgan analysts have opined that the Novavax COVID-19 vaccine is a game changer and is best in class. So why the continued need for speed for this sketch plan, and why do we need even another vaccine? So we can all see the light at the end of the tunnel, and some of us have already gotten our vaccines. Maryland has indicated that as of last week, about 25% of its citizens have been vaccinated, and with the opening of max vaccination sites throughout the state, we should accelerate that through April and May. However, only about 15% of US citizens have been vaccinated across the nation. And globally, some countries have not yet even started vaccinating their people. So there is still a heavy lift to get to the goal line where our country, as well as travel around the world, is fully open and peoples are protected. If you consider that compared to giants Pfizer and Moderna, Novavax was a fairly small vaccine company here in Gaithersburg, it has accomplished a Herculean effort to scale up to meet this global health challenge. By late this summer, Novavax will have over 15 manufacturing locations operating worldwide, in addition to its new one here at its Gaithersburg headquarters. Novavax continues to work very closely with the federal representatives at Operation Warp Speed to make this happen. It has finished many of its clinical trials around the world and in the US, and is in the approval process in the UK, Europe, Canada, and New Zealand. And Novavax is hopeful to receive US approval in the coming weeks. This has been a period of substantial growth for Novavax. The need for expansion is projected in both the immediate and long-term future. By way of example, Novavax hasn't even occupied 700 Quince Orchard yet, and they are already projecting that they will outgrow it within a year. Hence, the need move very quickly on approvals for the 14 Firstfield property, starting with the sketch plan approval process. And to show you how serious Novavax is, and realizing that they move forward at their own risk and subject to any terms of any approval of the sketch plan, Novavax has already released its consultants to do the traffic study, move forward with architecture and engineering, in an effort to get to a schematic development plan approval this year and move to a final site plan for the structured parking garage in order to free up the 14 First Field site for development. And the applicant has assembled a team from JLL, KGD Architects, Vica Maryland, and Shulman Rogers to help them bring their new vision for a Novavax campus to fruition. And representatives are all here tonight to answer any questions you might have. Next slide, please. The sketch plan is the same 15.3 acres that was rezoned together and approved under sketch plan in 2016. The property contains multiple buildings and sites owned by different owners. And to orient you, this quadrant of land is located between Quince Orchard Road, which is to the east and shown on the bottom of the screen, Bank Street to the north on the right hand of the screen, and on the bottom, the First Field Road is the west on the top of the screen. At the bottom left is 700 Quince Orchard building, now owned by ARE and labeled as Block 1. And it contains about 3.4 acres of the 15-acre sketch plan property. Along the entire frontage of First Field Road on the top is 14 First Field Road, its parking lot and stormwater management pond owned by the applicant. It contains about 9.7 acres of the 15-acre sketch plan property and is labeled Block 2. And on the bottom right is the corner of Bank Street and Quince Orchard, is the office building at 1 Bank Street and the M&T Bank building at 5 Bank Street. The office building is owned by OT Providers and the M&T Bank site is owned by Rome LLC. And combined, Block 3 contains about 2.7 acres of the 15-acre sketch plan property. ARE, OT Providers, Rome LLC have all provided authorizations for the sketch plan application by applicant. Next slide, please. The site is located within a robust commercial and technology district in close commuting distance of many Gaithersburg residential neighborhoods. It is accessible from 2 exits from I-270 and commuting routes along Clopper Road, West Diamond, and Quince Orchard Road. It's less than a mile from the Metropolitan Grove MARC station and has connections to Ride-On Bus along its First Field Road frontage and on nearby Clopper Road. And if we ever get the CCT, there are planned stations along Quince Orchard. Employees have convenient access to services directly across Bank Street at Quince Orchard Plaza, where they can find groceries, restaurants, retail, and personal services. And additional shopping choices are conveniently located within 1 mile of the property. Next slide, please. The property is zoned MXD, Mixed Use Development Zone, and is surrounded by employment and commercial zone properties in all directions. To the east across Quince Orchard Road is R200 zone land in Montgomery County, which is developed as NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. The property is centrally located within the First Field Employment and Technology Corridor and has many other high technology and biotechnology companies as neighbors. Half of the property has been developed for many years, but the 14 First Field portion is a large parking lot and an old stormwater pond. It is an infill development site waiting for a best use. The MXD zone is designed to provide a more flexible approach to the comprehensive design and development of a multi-use phase project. And although residential uses are permitted in the zone, they are not required. In this proposed sketch plan, a mix of commercial and employment uses are proposed in accordance with the city master plan. Next slide, please. The property is in the center of this image. It's located right next to the 124 label. The majority of the site is recommended under the master plan for industrial research and office development. That's the purple, with the corner of Bank Street and Quince Orchard noted in red as commercial in recognition of its current use as a bank and office site. And the proposed use of the property in this sketch plan is in accordance with these master plan recommendations. Next slide, please. This is a bird's eye view looking towards the north, showing the existing conditions in and around the property. And to orient you, the property is in the middle, and I have to laugh because Google has a tag on it saying that it's the Montgomery College Driver's Education Site. And the reason for that is the college does lease part of the parking lot for its motorcycle training classes on a month-to-month basis. You can see NIST on the right-hand side all along Quince Orchard Road. On the bottom of the screen are two technology buildings as the employment corridor continues south along Quince Orchard and First Field Road. And on the left of the image are the various uses along First Field Road, which includes offices, labs, a church, a veterinarian, among other employment uses. And to the further left or west, you can see the start of the residential communities behind the First Field Road developments. To the north, right beyond the green area on the screen, right across Bank Street is a 7-story office building. And in the middle of Bank Street is the loading dock for the Quince Orchard Plaza, as well as its main entrance to the shopping center, which has 30 tenants, including an Aldi grocery store, LA Fitness, Buffalo Wild Wings, among many other restaurants. Next slide, please. As has been mentioned before, and as well as discussed in the materials, the property was subject to a 2016 rezoning and sketch plan. It had 3 blocks. Blocks 1 and 3 were commercial uses, and block 2 was 2 sub-blocks containing up to 175 townhouses. The 2016 sketch plan allowed commercial density of just over 502,000 square feet. This was the 0.75 FAR from the zone calculated across all 15.3 acres, but then all of that density was allocated to just blocks 1 and 3. This resulted in an effective commercial density for blocks 1 and 3 of over 2 FAR for each of those blocks. The remainder of the property, block 2, was residential, and so it was just allocated up to 175 allowable dwelling units with a small amount, up to 5,000 square feet of retail allowed on block 2. Because the 2016 sketch plan called for a mix of residential and commercial, the main streets were required to be built to the city public street standards and then were required to be dedicated when all development was complete. And a segment of Public Street A was built to city standards at the time of renovation of 700 Quince Orchard, but has not yet been dedicated because the townhouses on block 2 were never built. And now that Novavax has purchased block 2, it has a new vision for the property. Next slide, please. This is a conceptual master plan for the property, illustrating how the 14 First Field site block 2 could be redeveloped and integrated with the existing uses on the site, the 700 Quince Orchard building on the bottom left, and the office building and M&T Bank building on the bottom right. The conceptual master plan reflects a north-south and a north and a south technology building to complete a street wall of very similar uses along First Field, as well as a grid of internal driveways to break up the big block and connect the site both internally and in all directions to First Field Road, to Quince Orchard Road, and to Bank Street. And a central green space anchors and integrates all buildings on blocks 1, 2, and 3, and makes this a walkable campus with easy access to nearby services, amenities, and transportation options. And we'll come back to this, but let's discuss how this concept plan translates to the proposed sketch plan application before you. Next slide, please. This is the proposed sketch plan for this application. Again, the property is broken up into blocks 1, 2, and 3. The primary requests of the sketch plan are 1, a density under the MXD zone of 1.5 FAR. This translates to 1,004,929 square feet. All employment, number 2, all employment and commercial uses. This includes office, research and development, integrated light manufacturing, and a small amount of retail, service retail, restaurant, and hotel. And 3, private streets and driveways instead of public streets, creating an internal grid with multiple connections to First Field, multiple connections to Quince Orchard, and an interim and an ultimate connection to Bank Street. The interim connection to Bank Street would be implemented as part of the redevelopment of 14 First Field, wholly on block 2. In the future, when the existing office building and the M&T Bank building on block 3 redevelops, the connection to Bank Street would be relocated so that it would coincide with this ultimate ultimate alignment, which aligns up with the median break on Bank Street, directly across from the Quince Orchard Plaza Shopping Center. So let's look more closely at what is proposed for each block. Next slide, please. Block 1 is the existing 700 Quince Orchard building, and the building has been approved under a recent final site plan for just under 180,000 square feet of office, research and development, and integrated light manufacturing. The sketch plan proposes 200,000 square feet max up to 7 stories. This height is the same as was approved in the 2016 sketch plan. And the total density is a reduction down from 400,000 that was allocated to this site in 2016. The requested 200,000 square feet will permit an opportunity for a small expansion in the future to provide flexibility for the current tenant, which is Novavax, and any future tenant. It includes the ability to provide on-site up to 10,000 square feet of retail or restaurant, which is exactly the same as was approved in the 2016 sketch plan. This will allow for a small amount of on-site commercial for convenience of employees. Next slide, please. So block 2 is just under 10 acres covering the parking lot and stormwater pond. The sketch plan proposes 604,929 square feet in multiple buildings up to 7 stories with a structured parking garage. It also includes a substantial central campus green space in addition to the normal perimeter setback green spaces. The uses proposed include office, both general and medical, research and development, as well as integrated light manufacturing. And similar to the 2016 sketch plan, it also requests that up to 5,000 square feet of the total allocated to this block could be service retail. The concept here is to allow for the flexibility to provide third-party provided services to employees that could also activate the street frontages along Bank Street or First Field if desired. Next slide, please. And finally, we come to block 3. It's made up of the 2 lots, one improved with the office building at 1 Bank Street and the M&T Bank building at 5 Bank Street. And this block is substantially unchanged from the 2016 sketch plan, which also permitted up to 200,000 square feet of development and uses including office, general retail, personal services, and a hotel. We have added, as permitted uses, research and development lab and integrated light manufacturing, as requested by the OT providers, the office owner, for flexibility for future tenants or for redevelopment office options. Next slide, please. It is important that this property be connected to the amenities and opportunities in the surrounding neighborhood. To that end, the main internal spine street, Street A, which is already built in part in front of 700 Quince Orchard, will be expanded to Bank Street. This will provide a convenient walkable path for workers directly to the goods and services in Quince Orchard Plaza across Bank Street. The 2 connections to First Field Road, which now exists with median breaks and stacking lanes, as well as the already built connection to Quince Orchard Road, will provide both sidewalk connections for workers directly to bus routes along First Field and Quince Orchard to Clopper Road, as well as vehicular connections in all directions to commuter routes throughout the city and the region. And as was noted before, the applicant is requesting that all internal drives be private, since all the uses will be commercial and employment related. This will allow flexibility in designing the central campus green, as well as security checkpoints and other federal or corporate security requirements that may be regulated or required for the users of these buildings in the future. Next slide, please. We thought it might be helpful to provide an illustrative to show you how the requested square footage and heights might look on this site. To orient you, First Field is along the top of the image and the 700 Quince Orchard building is on the bottom right. Along First Field Road would be multiple buildings. Because the site slopes significantly from south to north, or looking at this image from left to right towards Bank Street, which makes sense because the stormwater pond that exists there today is at the low point next to Bank Street. The buildings may appear to be 4 or 5 stories along First Field, but as they reach Bank Street, more floors would be visible and could be up to 6 stories at the corner of First Field Road and Bank Street. This would be compatible with the office building directly across Bank Street at First Field Road, which is also 7 stories. The garage could also use this same slope to allow it to be tucked into the site. It would be oriented with the short side facing Bank Street and is located directly across from the existing loading dock for the shopping center. And the design intent would be to make the parking garage not visible from First Field Road, but have it hidden behind the new office buildings along First Field Road. And in the center of Block 2 of the concept includes a 1-story amenities and manufacturing building, which could have a sweeping organic shape that helps create and edge the central campus green that would engage all blocks of the property. The mix of heights, the open space, and the grid of sidewalks and paths throughout the property creates a comfortable human scale to this campus for the requested 1.5 FAR density. Next slide. To wrap up, we'd like to address the proposed phasing of the sketch plan. Block 1, 700 Quince Orchard, has already been renovated and will be built out for Novavax in phase 1, which is targeted to be completed late this summer. Block 2, 14 First Field, will be developed in subphases. The first phase will be the construction of the parking structure to free up the area of the existing parking lots for development, along with the construction of the extension of Street A through to Bank Street. The manufacturing and amenities building, the north building, and the south building on Block 2 will be built in phases to meet demand. The internal pedestrian and vehicular grid will be constructed concurrently to service those buildings. The central green will be constructed with the manufacturing amenities building. And of course, Block 3 will be the final phase, as it is 2 fully leased improved properties, and will redevelop as market conditions demand. Next slide, please. We are very excited to bring this forward to the Mayor and Council and the Planning Commission for review and consideration. It's a very exciting global campus opportunity. Our team is available to answer any questions the city has. So please note, though, that Mr. Matthew Harrigal from Novavax was unexpectedly held up this evening, and so Mr. Tarek Kalaji from Novavax is here in his place. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, we're welcome to take those at this time.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Tech team, I just if you can just bring up Tarek, because I see he's still in the attendees group. This, you know, I know I speak for all the council members and for our staff in expressing for the who knows how many time, what number time this is, but our excitement and pride in what Novavax has been able to accomplish this year. When I say this year, I mean all the way back to 2020. I had the opportunity to go to tour Novavax with the governor back in October and got the whole story about how Novavax scientists had seen even long before or months before the first case even hit the United States of COVID-19. They'd seen the applicability of the platform that you guys had developed in potentially helping cure this, treat this disease, prevent it, cure it. And we're just, you know, as a city, we're just incredibly proud to be the home of a company that's playing such an important role. So we appreciate that. You know, I'm not going to prejudge the application. I will say I'm encouraged, excited about it, but I'm interested to hear from the public. This is a public hearing. I will note that even preceding the history that you laid out very well, Nancy, years before that, some of the council members, Mike and Ryan, will certainly remember that we got an application for this property for self-storage, for a big self-storage facility that was not necessarily the apple of everybody's eye here. And we were told, as my fellow council members will remember, we were told this is the best we're going to get for this spot. It's going to be self-storage. It's the best we can get. And we did hold out, and then we had the sketch plan that you alluded to, and now we have this. But anyway, it's been a long time coming. I appreciate the plan very much. And with that, before I opine any further, I will want to hear from the public, but I want to give council members and planning commission a chance to ask any questions before we go to the public. Raise your hands if you have a question or comment. Mike, please.
Thank you very much for that very lucid and exciting presentation. Yeah, I think in between the self-storage and the most recent sketch plan, we also had a potential Mini Cooper car dealership as well. So it's been an interesting cycle. I think the best thing that I've seen tonight is the fact that the residential component of the current sketch plan is evaporating, I guess, sublimating, whatever we want to call it, use a technical term, and to be replaced by what I really like to hear was the global headquarters for Novavax, which is a pretty big deal. So I guess this is a work session, so I'm supposed to be asking questions instead of making statements. So my first question would be, at build out, what would be the size of the employment on this campus? Just employed by Novavax and its contractors on site.
Yeah, so Mr. Harrigal had told me that it would be over 1,000 scientists and their administrative offices, et cetera. So pretty great jobs, great opportunities for everybody in the city and the region.
That's correct. By the end of the year, we're expecting 1,000 roughly, and the number will keep growing. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty significant addition to the employment portfolio of the city. So that's pretty special. And these are also professional positions and highly with probably a salary above the area median income, since it's going to require people with skills, degrees, and experience in R&D. Biomedical R&D and pharmaceuticals, et cetera. So
that's correct. Yes.
And then I also, I know we're still at a very early stage, but the sketch plan was also, in terms of the design that it proposed and the connectivity, was pretty significant. I didn't quite understand this one-story building that was going to be part of the first phase of the Block 2 development, along with the parking structure. Can you describe that again? And just, it looks like the green space is going to be on top of that structure. Is that the correct?
That is a little bit confusing because there's a green roof, so it kind of looks confusing. But the one story would be a mix of amenities for the campus, for the employees, as well as potentially a manufacturing facility. And if you think through, instead of building a 300,000 square foot office building, you would be able to implement a manufacturing component fairly quickly on. So Novavax is keeping their phasing flexible based on demand, but the concept at least shows this one-story building to give them some flexibility. So they could choose to implement a manufacturing opportunity quickly, or to do an office building and incorporate the manufacturing in an office building. So it gives them some flexibility.
Okay, and then you just said a green roof. So I assume that sustainable technology will be used to in terms of energy conservation, et cetera. I think one of the other challenges for this site is going to be stormwater management, since you're creating, well, you're replacing the impervious surface of the parking lot with the impervious surfaces of these buildings, but you've got this nice green space at the basically the highest, one of the highest points on the property there.
Yeah, one of the most sustainable things is to move from the old stormwater pond facility, which is old technology, to the environmental site design, which would be spread out throughout this campus and would incorporate some green roofs, some on-site facilities down at the base, and then a little bit more open space here in the campus green. So this switches an old stormwater, I don't want to say nightmare, but an old stormwater issue and converts it completely to new technology.
Yeah, we recently had a discussion on our stormwater program, and I think certainly the aging systems, this is one of them, is replacing those is it's nice to see a developer ready to do that. So anyway, I'm sure my colleagues have other questions. I'm just find it's a pretty impressive plan to date, and the number of employees, future employees, is pretty exciting as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Rob Wu, please.
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you, Nancy, for the presentation, and to Rick, thank you for being here. Very impressive from what I see so far. And I guess the one question I have, I was going to ask what Mike was asking about with respect to the stormwater management, because it is a much higher density on that site, but I'm sure we'll be able to work something that's environmentally sound. One of the things I've noticed in if you look at MedImmune, it's got a very appealing signature campus here in Gaithersburg. Councilmember Harris and I, a few years back, took a tour of the headquarters of United Therapeutics down in Silver Spring, and they really prided themselves on innovative construction and innovative development within both the design of the building as well as the aesthetics inside and outside of the building. So I was wondering if there's been given any thought to kind of that elevated signature aspect to your future corporate campus here in the greatest city in the world.
So if I start the answer, and Tarek, you can add in anything you want, which is Novavax went out and interviewed a number of architects and ended up with KGD architects in DC. And one of the principals here is actually in the waiting room on standby. It's a little too early to show you even how far they've taken some of the architecture, because we showed you a 2D plan, and then we just showed you a little bit of a massing, and there's just a little bit of architecture there, but they are moving day by day to move that forward. And they are a very innovative architecture firm that has a lot of experience in the biotechnology area and have designed some fabulous buildings. And I think Gaithersburg is going to be, we keep using the word pride tonight, but I think there's going to be a lot of pride in Gaithersburg when these buildings are designed. KGD's been knocking it out of the park with everything that they've shown the Novavax people and the Novavax team. Like, we are all in love with it. So I'm hoping that eventually when you guys get to see it, as we move to schematic development plan and then to final site plan, you'll feel exactly the same way, because that is the target. That's the goal, is to bring something really signature here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments before we go to the public? Lori Ann, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you again, Nancy, for the presentation. So I did have questions. You mentioned about the sites being built out to accommodate over 1,000 staff, and how many parking spaces are being built at this site?
So what you saw was some massing for a garage that probably had 12 or 1,300 cars in it. Some of the parking, that would be like a 4-story garage. Some of the parking under the concept is actually under the buildings, because the design intent of the architect is to minimize the look of the garage and the feel of the garage, which is why the short end is outward facing. There's a lot of green around it, and it places it conveniently accessible to 700 Quince Orchard, which some of the parking for 700 has to be in that building, and then the north and the south building and the manufacturing and amenities building. But all told, we think about 12 or 1,300 spaces, which is about the parking ratio that's been approved for 700 Quince Orchard, because there'll be a mix of light manufacturing, which has low parking requirements, R&D, which is lower than office, and then some office. So that blended rate is about the same that's in 700 Quince Orchard.
Okay, and you mentioned light manufacturing. What would that involve exactly?
So the city has a category called integrated light manufacturing, which basically is what these biotech companies, it's a clean room. So from the outside, it looks like an office building. There is no huge tractor trailers and hot, manufacturing look from the outside. I mean, they're taking nanoparticles and putting them together is what Novavax is doing. So other than some basic materials and some gases and things like that, Tarek, I think, you don't really see manufacturing here. These are all done in clean rooms inside this building.
Absolutely, Nancy, you're correct. It's all light manufacturing inside those clean rooms. Most of them are modules. There'll be things like small bioreactors. We're talking like 200 liter, maybe the largest scale is 500 liter bioreactor. And then small benchtop equipment, purification equipment, and everything that fits within a normal room. And everything is done in a clean room environment.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have for now. Because I brought that up because you mentioned you already started a traffic study, and I didn't know if there was a need or there would be a need for air quality study because of the manufacturing.
So the interesting thing, and we dealt with this in 700 Quince Orchard because we've gone through schematic and final site plan there. There is also an integrated light manufacturing facility being built there. There are so many regulations on clean room and their emissions that there is really no emissions that you need to worry about because the regulations on a clean room are so tight.
All right, thank you so much. That's all I had.
Thank you, Lorianne. Any other questions or comments? Danny Winborn, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Nancy and Tarek. That was an excellent presentation. But I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the private circulation of driving around, and how might that affect the bank right now, and eventually, the circulation of of driving through the site, because it's going to be eventually a pretty significant site from front to back.
Yep, right. So the bank is fully built out now, and it has its own entrance onto Bank Street. So the bank and the little office building in that corner, block 3, has its own curb cut directly across from the Quince Orchard Plaza entrance.
Right.
And so they're already aligned, and their driveway within their parking lot already aligns up with that. However, we were planning for the Novavax build out of block 2 to do the interim, to do a connection straight of Street A, straight to Bank Street. It would be a right turn in, right turn out only. But at least it could be developed wholly on block 2 without any impacts on block 3. Block 3's office building and M&T Bank have long-term leases on it. So it may be quite a long time before they decide that have any interest in redeveloping. And at that
Okay.
time, they'll go through and decide exactly how to do this. I will note for the council member that Block 2 already has an easement across Block 3 to that connection at Bank Street. We're just not going to use it for the development, for the preliminary development of Block 2. We're going to go straight to Bank Street as the interim condition and leave Block 3 alone for right now.
Right. But it looks like there will be like, and you said it was private. I mean, like, it won't be really a private drive, it won't be like a through street. But there does look like there's like a through from Quince Orchard Road and adjacent to 700 Quince Orchard that goes all the way through to First Field? All the way on the left?
So if you drove onto this site right now, you would come off of Quince Orchard, and that segment of the road along 700 Quince Orchard just got rebuilt to the intersection with the new Street A that is the spine that goes left to right across your screen.
Okay.
So those two roads, the segment from Quince Orchard to that intersection and then across the frontage of 700, that's brand new. So it's been built out to street standards. But if you drove out there today and got to that intersection, coming off of Quince Orchard Road, it's a wide open parking lot. And you could take a drive lane all the way to First Field, and there actually is a curb cut at First Field. And further down
I
First
noticed
Field,
that. I noticed that.
Yeah.
That's why I asked the question. Yeah. Okay.
So what the thought here is we would keep that connection. That makes sense. And in fact, that median break and the other one at First Field, they both have median breaks and stacking lanes. So it's, we're going to keep them oriented where they are. But one of the reasons that we want it to be private is you see that middle driveway between the north and south building, and you see that it curves a little bit around our green. That's not to city public street standards. If we had to build that drive, we wouldn't be able to curve it around the green. We wouldn't be able to probably do the kinds of drop-offs that we might want to do. We might not be able to do the kind of security checkpoints. We might not be able to, there are things that would be restrictive. And since there's no longer a residential component here, which is why you really want a public street, so someone pays taxes and get a public street, there's no reason for the city to maintain these internal streets. So we'll maintain them, but we'll also be able to build them with a little bit of flexibility for what we need.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Phil.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I want to tag on to sort of the line of questioning Danny had as far as, and you mentioned security and guard booths. I noticed there was a bright red dashed line on the plan around the entire site. Is the intent that this site is going to be fenced and access controlled, or is it going to be, if I'm in one of the adjoining parcels and I'm trying to get to the shopping center to grab lunch, am I going to be able to walk along the sidewalk through the site sort of freely to get from one side to the other if I don't work there?
So there's no plan right now to fence this site. However, given like Operation Warp Speed came suddenly out of nowhere and Novavax, responded to it and has contracts under that, something else could happen in the future. And there may be the need for security checkpoints that the federal government may impose on Novavax, or Novavax corporate security may require a security checkpoint. But at this point, there's no plan to fence this site.
Okay. That's
Okay,
all.
Phil, were you done? Okay. John Bauer, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Nancy. I'll echo and Tarek what everybody else has said. What a great presentation this was, and thank you so much for being thorough. This is more of a subjective kind of question. If you're looking at the conceptual perspective that you did, showing the massing of the buildings and the parking garages for the overall development of the site, or even the site plan with some of the footprint kind of information on it, how would you characterize that relative to what's being proposed for the sketch plan? Does that sort of represent 100% of what's allowable in the sketch plan? Is it 75%? Is it just sort of loosely speaking? What does that really illustrate?
You mean, are you asking total density?
Some kind of a
So
benchmark.
that massing diagram that we showed that was 3D, sort of bird's eye view, that shows what 604,929 square feet could look like.
Perfect.
So if they built out to the total allowable, which on schematic development plan or final site plan, it may not end up being the total, but that is showing 604,929 square feet.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to understand. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. Okay, well, this is the time when the Mayor, Council, and Planning Commission would like to hear from anybody who'd like to comment on this project. We ask that you keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes. If you have more than 3 minutes worth of things to say, just send it to us in writing and your comments will be considered just the same as any oral testimony. I see one raised hand. Again, if anybody's in the public and would like to speak, use the Zoom raise hand feature. Tech team, if you could bring up Dave Belgard, please. And we will hear Dave's testimony. Dave, just unmute yourself, state your name and address or neighborhood, and go right ahead.
Hi, Dave Belgard, Washingtonia Woods. I really enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much. It looks ambitious and modern, and it feels very green. Yes, it seems almost like the type of plan that could create a style that might drive the direction of other future development in that area. One of the things I really loved was, Mike had talked about it, Councilman Sesma, that unit in Block 2, the one story for amenities and manufacturing, it looks like it has almost a walkable park on top of it. I don't know if you plan on it, but I'd love to see that concept extended to the other buildings and maybe the parking garage with green roofs and solar panels. Also, one of the things that was not shown in the plan, so the Quince Orchard facing of the Block 1 building, unlike the rest of what you showed here, it's awfully plain. It doesn't match the interesting architectural feel of the rest of this proposed plan. I'm hopeful that future iterations of the plan maybe address that and bring it to have that same interesting feel as the rest of the campus. Finally, I'd like to just thank y'all again for such a thoughtful site concept and also for all the hard work that you've been putting into combating the pandemic. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Is there anybody else from the public who'd like to speak on this? Going once, going twice. Okay, not seeing any takers.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could just one more point, I believe
Absolutely.
it was in the staff report, but we had asked for a reduced time for the record so that we could move this along in order to get, move through the entire process and hopefully by the end of the year, get through schematic development plan and our first site plan.
Thank you. And I know, the city's been very happy to try to work with Novavax all throughout to expedite our processes. Mind you, we're gonna go through them, and everything is going to be scrutinized just as it would with every other plan. But we're doing our best to try to accommodate and be good partners here. So, John Bauer,
Okay.
staff recommendation.
Staff recommends that the Planning Commission hold their record open until 5 p.m. on Friday, April 23rd, 2021. That's 18 days with anticipated recommendation on May 5th, 2021. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'll do the roll call. Commissioner Wessel.
Aye.
Commissioner Kaufman.
Aye.
Commissioner Winborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Aye.
And I'll vote aye as well. That passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, John. Our recommendation is that we hold our record open until 5 p.m. on May 14th with anticipated policy discussion on June 7th. I see Mike's hand up. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes, I move that. that schedule.
Okay, Ryan.
Second.
Okay, I'll call the roll. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Sales.
Aye.
And Councilmember Wu. Okay, carries unanimously. Thank you all very much. We look forward to the next steps here.
Thank you very much on behalf
Mr.
of
Mayor and the
Novavax.
council.
We appreciate it.
And good luck saving the world, Novavax.
Thank you,
We're rooting
Mr.
for
Mayor
you.
and the council. I appreciate it, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is from the mayor and city council, and tonight we're going to start with Councilmember Spiegel. Ryan, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Hope everybody's enjoying the beautiful spring weather, and happy Incorporation Day. Gaithersburg was incorporated as a city on April 5th, 1878, and today she is 143 years young. We've got a lot of positive things going on in the city today, so it's a wonderful day to celebrate Incorporation Day. For all who observed and celebrated other holidays over the course of the last several days, I want to wish you happy Passover, happy Easter, happy Howli, Nowruz. I know we have Ramadan coming up, so for those who are observing Ramadan, wishing you a Ramadan Mubarak. And anybody who is celebrating any spring occasions at this time, wishing you all the best, and hoping that for those who are able to get vaccinated or at least follow the latest CDC guidance, that you're able to be together with family more closely for the first time in a long time and get to enjoy that. I also want to say that I'm glad we are back to having proclamations and presentations as part of the regular order of our city council meetings. We took a long break from doing that for good reason. We were sort of in triage mode during much of the pandemic, but I'm glad we're back to that, and seems fitting that one of the first meetings where we're issuing proclamations contains a number of very important and meaningful ones, including the days of remembrance. And I'll mention that there is a community-wide memorial event for Yom HaShoah, the Day of Remembrance of the Holocaust, which will be hosted by the Jewish Community Relations Council on April 11th. And also glad to see that we are recognizing Green Month and issuing a proclamation for Green Month and Arbor Day, and of course, Arab American Heritage Month as well. Today, a number of us from the mayor and council were able to join Congressman David Trone here in Gaithersburg, actually just across the street from the site that we were just talking about at the Seneca Creek Community Church, which is the venue for our Gaithersburg CARES Hub. And we were able to join Congressman Trone for a tour of the CARES Hub and to volunteer with distributing food to the many folks in need who had lined up there today. And the hub is such a positive example of the way that communities have come together during COVID to help each other out. But obviously the need remains very high, particularly with our vulnerable population, such as our Latino population here in the city of Gaithersburg. And today we saw that line of people wrapping all the way around two sides of the building. And I know that Councilmember Sesma is going to talk a little bit more about this, so I'm sorry if I'm jumping the gun, but recent data from our County Department of Health and Human Services shows that our distribution site in Gaithersburg actually serves the most people of all the hub sites in all of Montgomery County, and yet has the least county funding of all such sites. So I know that Mike's going to talk a little bit more about that, but I hope our county partners are paying attention and will review this data and perhaps allocate their resources more equitably going forward. But the partnership between the city government and the church volunteers and other great organizations like Manna Food and the Montgomery County Food Council and others, it's really amazing. But there really is much, much more that we still have to do. So thanks to Representative Trone for shining a light on both the good news of our local hub's important work and also on the ongoing need. And then finally, I wanted to relay important information about vaccine eligibility. This afternoon, Governor Hogan announced that all Marylanders 16 and older, will be able to get a COVID vaccine at any of the state's mass vaccination sites starting tomorrow. They will become eligible. Still need to sign up for an appointment, but starting tomorrow, anybody over the age of 16 is now eligible to sign up and go get a vaccine at the mass vaccination sites run by the state. And then next Monday, April 12th, a week from today, all providers in the state, including retail pharmacies and others, will be required to allow vaccines for Marylanders who are 16 and older. So that should really open it up to almost everybody at this point. And I want to strongly encourage folks again to sign up and get vaccinated as soon as you're able. And that's all I've got this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. We'll go to Neil.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to keep it very brief today. I had a discussion with our deputy city manager and also related to a discussion that he had with our city manager regarding the infrastructure plan that is being worked on in Washington. And we discussed ways to help locally and regionally to make sure that any interesting projects that improve the infrastructure of our region get proper attention in Washington, D.C. I had a good conversation with the executive director of the Transportation Planning Board. And after that conversation, we agreed that the next step will be for him to discuss the opportunity at the next TPB meeting, which is in 2 weeks. And I will propose that the TPB forms a task force of regional transportation officials and elected officials so that we can discuss what projects that may or may not currently be on the drawing board that we want to present to Congress to make sure that we take advantage of the opportunity to get a major infrastructure investment or investments for our transportation infrastructure here. So looking forward to what will certainly be a several-month-long process. Hopefully all will go well, and we'll form some regional agreement on what types of projects could proceed under federal funding. Always good to take advantage of an opportunity like this one that is really a once-in-a-generation opportunity. So I will keep you posted. That's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. We'll go to Lorianne.
Thank you, Mayor. So a lot of the updates I was going to share have already been mentioned. So happy holidays to everyone who is celebrating. Definitely enjoyed the holiday weekend and the weather that came with the changes of the season. So just a few updates. I attended the Sustainable Maryland Leadership Training. They had a really good training about equitable engagement in local government. We had some of our community leaders, including the mayor of Tacoma Park, council members from the city of Frederick, all talking about how they are using equity to address climate issues, climate change, and how they are improving our environment at the same time in an equitable way. I did also attend and I was happy to see some of our watershed staff there as well. So hopefully they are bringing back some of the good resources that we received at that meeting. I attended Congressman Trone's community project funding workshop for Montgomery County stakeholders. He talked about earmark funding that's available to a lot of the county nonprofits that are in his district. And this is all across the federal government where they're getting this earmark funding to address some of the issues in our community. And a lot of the hubs that are working throughout the pandemic, this is right on time for funding those projects to sustain them even after some of the counties' funding runs out, I believe at the end of their fiscal year. So I think that program has since closed, so we will find out soon if any of our community stakeholders are recipients of that much needed funding. So I know Ryan mentioned the vaccinations and how the governor has approved access for 16-year-olds and over. I was lucky to get my shot a few weeks ago, and I will be getting my second shot on April 17th. So I encourage anyone who has not received their vaccination to please visit the Maryland mass vaccination site, sign up, get your appointment. I had no lasting effects and I feel just fine and look forward to getting fully vaccinated to ensure we can open up soon. So please look out on our website and the county's website as well. I believe, So we also attended the Montgomery Village Resource Center that has taken up space at Lake Forest Mall. I visited with Mayor Ashman and Mike, our VP, and we took a tour of their newly expanded operations. They started out as a food distribution site at the start of the pandemic a year ago, and now they have transitioned or expanded to now accommodate vaccinations. And so we now have a place that is, very close by, that if you're unable to get to the new vaccination site at the new mass vaccination site at Germantown, there's one right here in the community. So definitely lots of opportunities to get vaccinated. This past weekend, over the Easter holiday, I attended the Montgomery Village extravaganza event, and we were able to put together some Easter baskets for residents and also give out some much needed food and other supplies to residents who are struggling to maintain during the pandemic. So thank you to the Up County Hub for all the work that they're doing to serve Up County residents during the pandemic. I also was invited to provide remarks for American Indivisible's leadership program, the Public Leaders for Inclusion Council. I was in the second cohort. It's a program for local leaders to learn more about how to combat anti-Muslim bigotry. And so the third cohort is forming and meeting soon, and I'll be able to share some information for the incoming class. And lastly, the National League of Cities Transportation and Infrastructure Services Committee held a briefing with the United States Department of Transportation to look at the White House's Build Back Better proposal. We were able to meet with their new director and talk about some of the transportation challenges that we're having locally and across the country, and how we can get the support of the federal government to fund those projects. And so conversations are ongoing, but it's good that we have a lifeline to the incoming administration, and they are open to supporting us as we build back better. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorianne. We'll go to Mike.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll echo the sentiments of my colleagues in expressing our wishes for that you had a happy holiday, that you're enjoying spring, and that you're doing as much as you can to stay safe and to get your shot. I think it's pretty important to register as quickly as you can, as soon as you can, especially if you're over 16 at the MassVax sites. But in the meantime, while you're registering for that, don't forget to wear your mask, wash your hands regularly, maintain appropriate social distance, especially if you're indoors, avoid crowds, especially indoors, and just, follow the guidance that we've been provided, because we're not at the finish line yet, as we keep reminding you. And it looks like we may be actually heading towards a fourth peak here in the rate of infections, not just in the United States, but also in particular in Maryland as well. So we're not out of the woods yet. So we all want to get back to whatever the new normal is going to be as soon as possible. We can't do it until the majority of the population is vaccinated. So make sure you take care of that. I've got an announcement. A closed meeting was held virtually by the Mayor and City Council on Monday, March 22nd, 2021 at approximately 8:32 p.m. pursuant to a motion adopted unanimously. The meeting was proposed to be closed pursuant to the general provisions article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, section 3-305B1I. The appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction. The topic discussed was a personnel matter to conduct the city manager's 6-month review. That's right, it's already been 6 months. Present at the meeting were Mayor Ashman, council members Harris, Sales, Sesma, Spiegel, and Wu. Staff present was City Manager Briley. Upon conclusion of the discussion, the closed meeting was adjourned at approximately 9:41 p.m. Okay, so it was great to have a tour of the Seneca Creek Community Church on First Field, right across the street from 14 First Field that we talked about earlier tonight, along with Congressman Trone. I know some of my colleagues have volunteered there in meal distribution, et cetera. But it was great to have Congressman Trone participate in that distribution today and really find out, learn about a great example at the CARES Hub of volunteers from the community that basically are one of the strengths of the community in terms of the diversity of help that is provided to the most vulnerable in the community. So those of us that were there were able to chip in a little bit in distributing those goods as well. So one of the things I wanted to share with the council as well as the listeners out there is a slide from a presentation that we just received from the county. Can we see that slide, Chris? Okay, these are the services consolidation hubs in the county. There are 8 of them that are listed here that shows the number of individuals served or number of families served on the left. The households served in the previous week, the total served were 6,100, somewhere a little over 6,100 households that were served. And if you look at the very bottom, the Seneca Creek Hub in Gaithersburg is almost 300 more households greater than the next highest case, which is the Kingdom Fellowship in East County. If you look all the way on the right and you look at the county funding for all of these sites, you'll see the Black Rock Hub at the top, and the total county funding is listed next to that chart there, next to the graph. And you'll notice that even though Seneca Creek Church had the greatest number of households served in the last week, if you look at total county funding for that site, it's the lowest of all of the 8 sites that are described on this map of hub locations and consolidation hubs. So I expect, I hope staff will look into why that is the case. And certainly we have to look at the total number of households served over the course of, over the history of the CARES Hub in Gaithersburg compared to the other hubs. But it looks like maybe we're a little short, but that means that the way our volunteers and the community that is working around that CARES Hub is working is largely due to the number of charitable donations, working with our nonprofit partners such as MANA to make sure that these families, these households get what they need to sustain themselves during this period that we're still going to have to be dealing with for a while. So I just thought this was, when I saw this slide, after looking through like a 35 slide presentation, this was almost at the very end. This really struck me as something we need to figure out why that differential there, why that disparity in funding exists. Certainly the city can't make up all of that. And so perhaps Tanisha, we could have staff look into why that differential exists. So just wanted to share that. And the last thing I wanted to address is the issue of violence and hateful actions against the Asian community, against members of Asian descent and heritage. Fortunately, Gaithersburg has had no reported incidents of hate or attacks or complaints of threats. At least none of them that's been reported. I checked with the chief today. We haven't had any incidents, but they are occurring. They're even occurring in Montgomery County, which has a substantial Asian population representing individuals with heritage and roots in a number of Asian countries. Many of those people were born here. They're American citizens. So I myself am half Asian, and I must share that the first incidents of racism that I ever experienced in my life was Asian hate against my mother. I was probably barely 4 years old when I witnessed that. Asian hate has been present in this country for over a century. The first Immigration Act that Congress passed was the Chinese Exclusion Act, and it was intended specifically to keep Chinese immigrants out of the country. If you're Japanese American, I don't have to explain to you the history of Asian hate. So I will ask, and I expect that all of Gaithersburg residents will step up if they witness it. We can't be silent in light of these actions and threats and incidents. We need to look out for each other, and we need to make sure that that we protect each other whenever we can. So that's, I should have prepared more cogent remarks on this, but it is an emotional issue for a lot of us. And it shouldn't matter whether you're Asian or not. But Asians are not the only groups that are experiencing threats and discrimination and other hateful incidents. So one of the things that makes Gaithersburg great is our diversity. There's strength in our diversity, and we need to support each other in these trying times. So that's it for my remarks tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And we'll move to Rob Wu.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I don't have much to add. I want to thank Mike for his thoughts there and sharing his personal experience. It's important that all of us speak up whenever a group is targeted unfairly here in the United States. And the fact of the matter is that we live in the most diverse city, small city, and Jersey City, I guess, is above us. You have to always have the caveat. And that we're lucky to live here because with diversity breeds tolerance, it breeds understanding, but it's not necessarily the case elsewhere. So we have to speak up on those, on these important issues. All the various information that was given out today, I'll echo Ryan's comments in particular on the various celebrations as we enter the spring. weather. I'll just add one more for those who celebrate Happy First Contact Day. If you do live in the mirror universe, I guess it would also be Happy Rid the World of Vulcans Day. Either one. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Rob. And thank you both for your comments about discrimination and violence and hatred against Asians. You're absolutely right. So I just have two things. I want to remind everybody the book festival is coming up less than a month. It starts on Saturday, May 1st, and it will run with usually like 2 programs a day for 4 weeks throughout May. We have incredible programs, incredible authors. I know several of the council members and Tanisha are participating in GBF programs this year, and I'm really excited about that. It's going to be great. So we just launched our schedule. Everything that you need to know about the book festivals at GaithersburgBookFestival.org. I'd also recommend that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, particularly Facebook. We do a lot of posting on Facebook, some on Twitter, some on Instagram as well. So GaithersburgBookFestival.org. And last, I will note that we have a work session next week, Monday, April 12th, to discuss the Commission on Common Ownership communities. And it will be just like the rest of the meetings have been for the past year. It'll be on Zoom. So however you're watching us now, you can watch us next week and participate if you like. And then the next regular meeting of the Mayor and Council will be on April 19th. And with that, I will turn it over to from the City Manager, Tanisha Briley.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just be very brief tonight and just share that we are also preparing for the public hearing for our fiscal year 22 budget process, which will be on April 19th. And today, this evening, actually, the proposed budget has been uploaded to our website. So the community is encouraged to go out and take a look at the proposed budget. We will provide a brief presentation for the public hearing, and then open up for comment. We look forward to hearing your feedback as well as the community's feedback as we move through our fiscal year 22 budget process. So very excited about that. And I am probably equally as excited, because that's how much I love budget, to get my second vaccine shot, which I'm scheduled for next week. So I'm looking forward to being fully vaccinated 2 weeks from Thursday, and which happens to be my birthday. So what a great birthday present that will be. And I'm looking forward to dining inside. That's really like the only thing I'm really excited about, is dining inside without being concerned about myself and others. So everyone, if you can, I hope that you will seek out guidance on your own if you are skeptical to get the vaccine. We hope that you will seek out good information and that you will choose to get your shot so that you can protect yourself and others. And I will leave it there, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tanisha. In the spirit of encouraging people who may be skeptical of vaccines, I will share that I'm getting my second vaccine a week from Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to it as well. And I know all of the council members are either vaccinated or entirely already, or well on their way. We support it, and we hope that everybody watching will not only get vaccinated, but encourage their friends and families to do the same. Let's move on to economic development update. Tech team, if you could bring up Tom Lonergan, that would be great. Welcome, Tom.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Just one item for you tonight. To support Maryland's small businesses facing continued financial impacts from the pandemic, the state recently established a new small business COVID-19 relief grant program with $10 million in State Relief Act funding. This grant offers working capital to assist certain Maryland small businesses with disrupted operations due to COVID. This grant program, however, does come with an unusually tight timeline, as well as define parameters for which kinds of businesses can qualify for support. The program only opened for applicants last week, but the state of Maryland is now only accepting applications through April 6th at 11:59 p.m. That's tomorrow night. The other limitation of this grant is that businesses that primarily sell goods or offer services that require the collection of sales and use tax are not eligible for this program. In short, restaurants and traditional retailers would not qualify. However, if a program, or rather a business, is primarily engaged in activities that do not require the collection of sales and use tax, but also engages in the sale of goods or the offering of services that do require that collection, the business may still qualify for the program. I know it's a little bit confusing, and at the end, I'll be encouraging potential applicants to go visit the state website for more information. But for example, a hair salon that may not have to collect sales and use tax for haircuts or styling, but may also sell shampoo or other products for which the tax is collected, that business may still be eligible for the grant. Some other examples of businesses that typically offer non-taxable services may include personal, professional, insurance services, custom computer services, a labor or service for installation, or potentially a service for the operation of equipment used for the production of audio, video, or film recording. Other requirements include, but aren't limited to, having fewer employees, demonstrating a 25% or greater reduction in revenue, combined revenues less than $5 million, and economically disadvantaged applicants will be prioritized. While funding is extremely limited and may ultimately result in an approval on a first-come, first-served basis, it is our impression that applications have been slow to roll into the state, so we encourage qualifying businesses to submit one if they haven't already. For more information and the grant application, interested parties should go to commerce.maryland.gov and click on the tab for Small Business COVID-19 Relief Grant Programs. And for tonight, that's all I've got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Next item on our agenda, I have legislative session update. And I'm not sure, Tanisha, do we have an update?
No, we don't have it. I don't believe we have an update today.
Okay, that's fine. Since we came to this agenda item, I will just note for the council and for the public that Senator Kagan unexpectedly came up with an opportunity to provide some funding for the new Pleasant View Park to the tune of $250,000. The budget isn't passed and signed by the governor yet, so it's not a done deal yet, but it is in there, and she's continuing to do outstanding work for us this session. So hopefully that goes through and it'll be a help. So let's move on to ordinances, resolutions, and regulations. And tech team, if you could bring up Tony Berger, our acting director of public works, to talk about a contract amendment for construction services. Tony, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to you and to the rest of council. Tonight I have for you an amendment to a previous resolution for our contract services associated with our resurfacing curb and sidewalk work. This is a relatively administrative in nature. As you all know, we strive to keep our streets and sidewalks in the best condition that we can. And as we move through the budgeting periods, you can see I've included there in the table what we have budgeted this year under fiscal year 21. This is on packet page 123. If the tech team could bring that up. And what this includes is about $1.8 million in capital project improvements budgeted under the CIP program, and then $100,000 that's associated with our regular operation budget under the streets account of 1312. It's important to note that we have already completed approximately $800,000 worth of street improvements this year, along with just a little over $220,000 worth of sidewalk improvements. That's helped us get about 8 miles of roads paved within the city. I'm sorry, 8 lane miles of roads paved in the city, and about 5,000 feet of sidewalk replaced at this point. We still have much to do this springtime. So we're asking to increase the amount that we spend under this contract. The previous cap was set at $1.4 million. This will take it to $1.958 million, and lets us finish out our fiscal year according to our program budget. I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have and appreciate your consideration for this resolution.
Thanks, Tony. Questions, comments, council members? If not, would somebody like to move the resolution? Rob Wu.
So moved.
Mike.
Second.
Okay. I will call the roll. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Sales.
Aye.
Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
And Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
All right, carries 5-0. Thank you very much, Tony.
Thank you all.
Next, we have election regulations. Lynn Board, you are leading us in this, and I don't know if you want to bring up Lauren Klingler to the meeting or no.
If we can bring her up, it'd be great. Thank you. What you have before you this evening is the introduction of amendments to the city's election regulations. These regulations have been reviewed by the Board of Supervisors of Elections, and they are recommending their approval this evening. The suggested changes to the regulations are fairly routine in nature and largely deal with recognizing that we are holding virtual meetings and potential for virtual forums and debates. So there are changes in section 4, which are rules for city festivals and events, that does add language to reflect the addition of virtual events and festivals. In section 5, which is the provision on debates and forums, it also recognizes that there could be virtual debates and forums in the 2021 election. We've updated section 9, which is the campaign finance section, to update the process for obtaining account access to submit a campaign finance report. Section 11, which was the writing candidate provision, we have deleted that section as you all amended the charter to no longer allow writing candidates. So we took that section out. We have also amended section 12, which is for early voting and election day activities, to update the provisions on poll watchers. We wanted to make sure with the increase in the number of mail-in ballots that poll watchers also had the opportunity to watch the process of counting mail-in ballots. And then in section 13, we've updated that section to delete references to absentee ballots and to change that language to mail-in ballots. With any regulation for section 2.2-10 of the city code, there's introduction and policy discussion. The mayor and council has the option of also holding a public hearing, but for this particular set of regulations, staff is not recommending a public hearing because we think these changes are fairly routine in nature. We are asking that you introduce the regulation changes this evening and then hold policy discussion on April 19th. And Lauren and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Lynn. Thanks, Lauren, for getting us to where we are. These seem like sensible recommendations from the BOSE and from staff. Council members, any questions, comments? Not, would someone like to move that we introduce? Mike.
Yeah, we had extensive discussion as we were working through this recently, so I will move to introduce. I have no other comments or questions at this point.
Lynn, before I go to you, Rob, Lynn, do we need do we need to note in the motion that we're moving to introduce and not hold a public hearing, or just motion to introduce is good enough?
It should also note that you are not going to hold a public hearing.
So I guess I'll make sure that my motion includes the the fact that we will defer for further public hearing and consider this on April 19th
For policy discussion.
for policy discussion.
Okay, Rob.
Second.
Okay, then I will call the roll. All those, Lorianne, did you have a question, or is this just a vote?
No, I had a quick question about the signatures. Did we finalize?
Yes, the Board of Supervisors elections, and I guess part of the reason that we would like the regulations finally decided on April 19th is the mayor and council candidate packets will be available on May 6th. In the candidate packets, there is information on collecting signatures by the candidates. The candidates will have two different options. You can collect signatures in paper form like you've done in previous elections, but there is also a new electronic format as well. So both of those options will be included in the candidate packets and will also be covered during candidate training.
Okay, thank you, Lynn.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Councilmember Harris.
Aye.
Councilmember Sesma.
Aye.
Councilmember Sales.
Aye.
Councilmember Spiegel.
Aye.
And Councilmember Wu.
Aye.
Okay, carries unanimously. Considered introduced, and we will see it back on April 19th. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And I got a note from Dennis. No, he doesn't have anything from other staff. Lynn, do you have anything else?
I just very quick, as a proud graduate of Gonzaga University School of Law, I was going to say go Zags.
Man, that game on Saturday.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
There was a lot of chatter amongst the Gonzaga alum that night.
I'll tell you, I was just saying to Tanisha, they're going to be talking about that game 30 years from now. That was one of those games. Okay. So as I mentioned, join us next week for our work session on the Commission on Common Ownership Communities. And then the following week, will be the next regular meeting of the Mayor and City Council on April 19th. Please go visit the Book Festival website and plan your May because we got a lot of great programs. And until next time, let's do great things, Gaithersburg. We are adjourned.